All right, thank you everyone for coming here today. We're here today because our community is in need. We need good paying jobs. We need affordable childcare. We need better roads and better transit. We need a great education for all of our children. We need a fair criminal justice system. We need to protect our natural resources and move to green energy. We need to stem gun violence. We need to get money out of politics. We need to make sure our government and our elected officials work for us. We need a representative in Washington who knows this district and will fight for this district. We need someone to defend our values and make sure that our voices are heard. And that's why I'm running for Congress. Here's what we don't need. We don't need a representative in the pocket of special interests. We don't need someone who will sit back and watch corruption and sexual harassment scandals and do nothing. We don't need the same old way of doing things. That includes the kind of politics that's only for insiders, wealthy donors, and the boys club. We don't need to send Albany to Washington. And that's why I'm running for Congress. We need facts. We need accountability. We need transparency. We need ethical government. And we're at a moment in time when those things are under assault in our country. I'm the only candidate who has the skills and experience to fight corruption. I'm the only candidate who has been fearless facing down people who abuse their power. I've spent my entire life as a warrior for truth. I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. You have to answer to the public. And I was the one who asked the questions. It was my job to do that. And it doesn't matter whose feathers get ruffled or whose apple cart upset. That's how I conducted myself as a journalist, and that's how I will conduct myself as your representative. And that's what we need right now. I've spent the last 20 years listening to you, making sure your stories were heard, and making sure your problems were addressed. Our relationship will only get stronger when I go to Congress. You'll know what I'm doing. You'll know who I'm meeting. You'll know who's giving my campaign money. And I'll tell you who won't be giving my campaign money: corporations. I'll work for you and no one else. Now, a lot of people say Democrats should stick together and not primary each other. But choice is good for government, and it's good for the Democratic Party. You deserve to make the decision about this seat, not party big shots. Both Democrats and Republicans in this election are trying to use gamesmanship to prevent you from getting a choice. We have learned nothing is inevitable in politics. And I'll tell you what, this will not be a coronation. You deserve so much better. Rochester has for decades benefited from a very strong and determined advocate in Congress, and we need that advocacy to continue. We need an advocate, not a deal maker. One Democrat in this race suggests that he wants to reach across the aisle to get things done. Who's he going to make deals with? Chris Collins? Devin Nunes? Mitch McConnell? Jeff Sessions? Compromise works sometimes, and sometimes it's necessary. But we're in a situation in 2018 where we don't always want people reaching across the aisle. We want people holding feet to the fire. It's one thing to make deals with a government that's acting in good faith, but right now we have an executive branch that doesn't seem to be taking the wants and the needs of the public into account when it comes to health care, the safety net, crime, immigration, gun reforms. And we have a Congress right now controlled by a majority willing to let the president have his way on harmful policies. So who exactly are we making deals with? What deals are we making? This isn't a time for deal making and transactions. It's not a time to reach across the aisle if compromise means hurting people. It's time to do what we can to protect the people who live in this community and protect our values. I can promise you I'm not interested in any deal that poses any threat to the rights and health of people in our community. We have to stand strong to defend women, LGBTQ individuals, African Americans, Latinos, Asians, Jews, Muslims, people with disabilities, immigrants, all of us, people. And I'm not dealing with anyone who threatens or disparages anyone. We have families right now in Rochester who are in immediate crisis. Their loved ones are addicted to heroin and pills. Their loved ones are dying. Moms and dads are draining their savings accounts to keep their loved ones, their sons and daughters, out of jail and alive. This is a public health crisis. We cannot and should not arrest our way out of it. It's not working. We should not move this problem from town to town and neighborhood to neighborhood. We have to confront it head on. That means effective treatment must be available to anyone who needs it, and drug companies must be held accountable. I've knocked on thousands of doors getting to know you. And nearly every night I go out there, I meet someone who has been laid off from the big three and who is struggling to rebuild their lives, or it's taken a long time to rebuild their lives. It happened a few nights in Irondequoit. A woman told me she had an interview the very next day, and she was struggling to find good paying work. How many years now have we been listening to these stories from our neighbors? 30 years? Don't all of us know people who've had to leave town for economic opportunity? Since 2010, 30,000 people have moved out of Monroe County. Wages have fallen when adjusted for inflation. Economists like to say that we're resilient in Rochester, but that just means we're hanging on, and it's not good enough. It needs to make sense to do business in Rochester, and that means national level reforms. Roads and bridges in good repair, a low-cost fiber internet network, net neutrality, tax policies that let businesses plan from year to year, investments in high-quality job training programs, transitioning to renewable energy and creating a green economy, research dollars for the University of Rochester and the Rochester Institute of Technology. We have to innovate and invent. That is what is going to lead to prosperity. And these are things that your representative can fight to do. And I'll be thinking of Rochester every single day that I'm in Washington. The American dream is getting harder and harder to achieve. One study ranked Monroe County last in terms of, or close to last, in terms of upward mobility. That means that if you're born poor, your odds of getting ahead are not good. Our education system needs to work for all of our children. That means we need a strong public school system, we have to reject privatization, and we have to make college affordable and accessible. All workers must earn a living wage and get paid leave. All parents should be able to access affordable childcare. And all Americans should have health care. We have to move to Medicare for all. There is so much at stake in this important election for this very special seat. For decades, Louise Slaughter has been an inspiration to generations of women. She was a trailblazer. And now it's up to women in Western New York to be brave enough to walk that trail, to take political risks, and to never give up. We cannot leave this trail cold and hand this seat to someone who has not been there for women in politics. The question in this race comes down to this. Who do you want fighting for us in Congress? Who do you want making sure that your needs are addressed? Who do you want standing up for the vulnerable? Who do you want standing up for facts and truth and transparency? And who do you want standing up to Donald Trump? That's why I'm here. Running for Congress is the right thing to do. I'm here for you. And together, I know that we can chart a bright future for the 25th District. Thank you.